After a large-scale charity concert in Texas to support children with serious illnesses, Beyoncé decided to visit a children's hospital. This visit was not on her schedule, but she felt the need to see those who could benefit from the funds. She has always felt that personal contact with the people whose lives she tries to change through her art and charity gives meaning to her work. The hospital where the singer arrived was a modern facility, but even its sterile walls and technology could not hide the heaviness of the atmosphere. The corridors were quiet, with only the faint rustling of medical trolleys or the footsteps of nurses heard from time to time. Beyoncé was taken to one of the rooms in the oncohematology department, where a boy named James was lying. He was 9 years old and had spent most of his life fighting for survival. When she walked into the room, the first thing that caught her eye was the thin figure of the child on the bed. James looked much younger than his years. His skin was pale, almost transparent, and his arms were as thin as twigs. His face showed fatigue, but at the same time some strange inner strength. He was leaning on the pillows with a teddy bear in his hands. The teddy bear looked worn out, with patches on the seams, which indicated its age. It was the only thing left of his father, who had left the family a few years ago. James suffered from a rare blood disorder that required regular transfusions and expensive treatment. Doctors explained to Beyoncé that his condition was unstable and that every new day was a small victory for him. At the same time, the boy's life was not easy, not only because of the disease. His mother, Sarah, had a serious alcohol problem. Her addiction began after her husband left, and every year the situation got worse. Sarah visited her son only occasionally, often in a state where her behavior was uncontrollable. Social services tried to help her, but there were no results. All these details were told by the doctor who accompanied Beyoncé. He noted that despite the difficult circumstances, James remained a very intelligent and creative child. The boy found comfort in music, which became a source of inspiration and a way to escape from reality. On an old tablet given to him by volunteers, he watched video lessons on the piano. In the hospital's gaming corner, there was a small synthesizer on which he played simple melodies from time to time. James dreamed of becoming a pianist, although he had never seen a real concert instrument. Beyoncé stood at the door of the ward, looking at the boy. Something about him touched her to the core. It was not only his physical weakness, but also his eyes, a mixture of childlike naivety and adult wisdom. She decided to go in. Several nurses and a manager accompanied her, but she asked them to leave her alone with James. The room was quiet. James looked at her, and his eyes flashed with surprised curiosity. He knew who he was looking at. His doctors often played Beyoncé's music to cheer up the children in the ward. The boy could not believe that this legendary singer was standing right in front of him. The boy's gaze stayed on her for only a few seconds, but it was enough for her to feel how much he had been through in his life. There were no toys or books around him, just the same old tablet and his worn-out teddy bear. Beyoncé immediately realized that his needs went far beyond medical care. She spent about an hour with him. During this time, James talked about how music helps him to endure pain and feelings of loneliness. The boy admitted that every time he plays or listens to melodies, he imagines himself somewhere far away, in a big hall where hundreds of people listen to his music. This was his greatest wish, to perform on stage at least once in his life. There was something special in his voice, a combination of dreaminess and determination that was hard to miss. Beyoncé listened to his story without interrupting. Her heart was squeezed at the thought of this child going through such trials, yet remaining strong and full of hope. She realized that James is not just a boy who needs support. He is an example of how light can be found even in the darkest moments. This meeting left a deep mark on her soul. On the way back to the hotel, Beyoncé couldn't stop thinking about James, his story, and how many children in the world face similar challenges. She knew she had to do more than just support him with words. She decided that this meeting would be the beginning of a new chapter in her charitable work. When she returned to her hotel late at night, Beyoncé couldn't sleep. The image of James stood before her eyes, and his story played over and over in her mind. She decided that she had to return to the hospital the next day. She couldn't help but think that she had to do more for this boy. The next morning, she arrived at the hospital without cameras or press accompaniment. Her only wish was to spend more time with James. When she entered the ward, the boy looked surprised but happy. He did not expect the celebrity to come back to be with him again. This time, Beyoncé brought a small gift with her: professional headphones and a digital piano. It was a compact model that was perfect for a hospital room. When she set the piano on the table next to his bed, James couldn't contain his emotions. It was the best gift he had ever received. She invited him to try playing a few notes together. James, shy at first, gradually opened up. He showed her some simple melodies that he had learned on his own. Beyoncé was impressed by his musical flair and perseverance. The boy said that every note for him is a way to express what he cannot say in words. In the course of the conversation, she learned more about his life. James said that although his mother loves him, she cannot cope with her problems. He often feels lonely, but music helps him not to give up. His biggest dream is to become a composer and create music that will inspire others the way music inspires him. Beyoncé listened to his every word, feeling her heart fill with new emotions. She realized that James had taught her something very important. His strength of spirit and his ability to dream, even in the most difficult circumstances, were an example of how to find hope when it seems there is none. This dialogue changed her. She could no longer stand by and decided that she had to help him realize his dream. After returning from the hospital, Beyoncé began to think about how she could make a difference in James' life. She realized that help should not only be material, but also aimed at creating opportunities for him. Her first step was to contact a few well-known musicians who could serve as mentors for James. She also decided to organize a small concert at the hospital to give him a chance to perform in front of an audience. The following week, preparations for the concert began in the hospital lobby. Beyoncé personally coordinated all the details, making sure James had everything he needed to perform. It was a special day for him, the first time he would be able to play his music in front of others. The day of the concert came. Doctors, nurses, patients, and their families gathered in the hall. James, dressed in a new suit donated by Beyoncé, looked nervous but happy. His small piano was set up on a stage decorated with flowers and lights. When he started playing, the room fell silent. His music was simple but full of emotion. Each note seemed to tell his story of struggle, pain, and hope. Everyone listened with rapt attention, and at the end of the performance, the audience burst into applause. This moment was a turning point not only for James, but also for Beyoncé. She realized that even the smallest effort can have an incredible impact on the lives of others. This concert became a symbol of hope and proof that dreams can come true, even in the most difficult circumstances. After the performance, people came up to James to congratulate him. For the first time, he felt that his talent and efforts were appreciated. It was the beginning of a new chapter in his life, a chapter full of faith in his own strengths and capabilities. The following months were an important period of change for James and Beyoncé. After the concert, the boy became a real inspiration for other patients in the hospital, as well as for the medical staff. His story was shared through social media and charity campaigns organized by Beyoncé's team. It was not only a story of struggle, but also a proof of how support and self-belief can change lives. Beyoncé decided to go even further. She created a special fund for children with serious illnesses, which not only financed treatment, but also supported the development of their talents. James became the face of this initiative, and his story was used to draw attention to the problems of other children who needed help. Thanks to the foundation, James got the opportunity to play music professionally. One day, when his condition stabilized somewhat, Beyoncé invited him to Los Angeles to meet with her personal pianist, who agreed to become his mentor. The boy who once could only dream of the stage was now sitting in a professional studio working on his own music. However, James' story was not only about achievement. It was also a journey of healing for his family. The Beyoncé Foundation organized a rehabilitation program for his mother, Sarah. It was not an easy process, but with the support of specialists, she began to change her life. She began to spend more time with her son, restoring their connection. For James, this was no less important than his musical success. One of the most memorable moments came when James made his debut at a charity concert in New York organized by Beyoncé. It was a huge hall filled with hundreds of people. James played a song he wrote himself, Notes of Hope. His performance moved the audience to tears, and it was an important step in his musical career. This concert was the beginning of something bigger. James decided that he wanted to use his talent to help other children struggling with similar challenges. He became an ambassador for the foundation, met with other children, inspired them with his story, and held small music workshops. Beyoncé herself was changed by this story. She realized how important every step is, even if it seems insignificant. James taught her that big changes start with small actions. She continued to work actively with the foundation, expanding its activities and attracting new partners. For James, this journey has become not only a story of healing, but also of self-discovery. Despite the challenges, he not only survived, but also found his calling. His music has become a symbol of hope and faith, and his story is proof that even in the darkest of times, light can be found. In the end, James and his family's lives will never be the same. But now it is full of new opportunities, dreams, and gratitude. And it all started with one unexpected encounter in a hospital room that changed not only his life, but the lives of many others.